Well, it's been a while since I got the chance to review a new superhero movie in the cinema, but here we are. Who would have guessed that one of the only movies to be out in cinemas right now would be a movie that has been delayed over and over again to the point where I thought we'd never see it. The New Mutants is officially out. I've seen it. It almost feels surreal just saying that, but now I'm here to talk about it. Also, I'm going to go non-spoilers to start, but I think I'm going to go into spoilers pretty soon after because I have some stuff I want to say about this movie. So, let's get into it.
This place takes your greatest fear and makes you live through it until it kills you.
So The New Mutants, the last X-Men film in this set of X-Men films before Disney reboots it all. For me, the X-Men films quite rarely are just fine, or pretty good or pretty bad. There are a few examples of that, just pretty good movies, but normally they're either really, really amazing or extremely terrible. And I'm happy to say that The New Mutants follows that trend. This movie was so terrible that it was an extremely enjoyable cinema experience. Yes, this movie is really, really bad, but did I get my money's worth from how funny this gets at points and how much fun I had talking about it with my friend after seeing it? Damn right I did. So I would definitely say this movie is worth seeing, especially with a friend or two, because oh man, does this have some gold in it from a so bad it's good perspective. The thing is though, the whole movie isn't like that. It starts out fine. Like, it's not great, but it's not awful. It's whatever. Then, as it goes, it actually has some decent moments, and then at a certain point, it starts to get more and more ridiculous and convoluted, and just goes so off the rails that it becomes extremely entertaining. And you know what? I'm just gonna go spoilers from here. I just want to talk about this with freedom. So, spoilers, you've been warned. Okay, firstly, cast and characters. Let's start with the ones I liked. Maisie Williams probably gives the best performance in this. She's quite good. Alice Braga is pretty solid as Dr. Reyes, and I thought Henry Zaga was pretty decent as Roberto. As far as everyone else, I thought Anya Taylor-Joy and Charlie Heaton were good. They've both proven that they're good actors in other stuff before, but they're both using very cartoony accents that are kind of distracting because of how obviously they're not their own natural accents. Kind of like Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in Age of Ultron, but worse. Plus, they get a few really bad lines at some points that even they can't save. And the main actress, Blue Hunt, look, I don't want to be mean, so I'll just say, she's not good in this. And especially in scenes with other actors like Maisie Williams, the ways in which her performance is lacking are highlighted. There's also the romance in here between Maisie Williams and Danny, which is fine. It's not awful, except for that one line that they say to each other about living or something, and then saying each other's full names. That was awful. I actually really like the premise of this movie on a few levels. Firstly, just the spooky haunted asylum thing. It isn't anything new, but it's a premise that can lead to some exciting horror stuff. But then also the idea of superheroes, or mutants, going into a horror movie, so basically a horror haunted house type film, but where the protagonists have powers and fight back, that sounds pretty awesome to me. And there are moments that come through here that are actually pretty decent, where the mutants fight back against the monsters. But it quickly devolves into either pretty generic superhero action or pretty generic horror stuff, without much more to it. It's only a few moments where those two things cross over in an interesting way, which I think the whole film should have been that. It feels a bit like wasted potential. And yeah, we can just talk about the horror stuff now. This movie is a lot like the new It movies. In fact, I would even dare to say this was very, very heavily inspired by the new It movies. Because the horror stuff is basically the same here. The characters have these fears, they're brought to life as quite cartoony monsters that attack them. The effects look quite similar, even the ways some scenes are shot are quite similar. It's very much like the new It films in that way. The effects are quite goofy at times and not really scary, and beyond just the jump scares that are literally just a loud noise and sudden image that will make you jump, there isn't really much scary here. You guys know I'm not a huge horror fan, I don't really like being scared, so yeah, when I see horror movies at the cinema, I'll squint my eyes and be a bit more focused on my popcorn so I avoid the jump scares. Alright, I'm man enough to admit that, but much like with It too, as soon as I decided, hey, it's fine, I'll just watch this without trying to avoid getting scared, I realized, oh wow, this is not scary at all, and everything that I could imagine was much scarier than what was actually happening. The only thing that was potentially creepy was initially when those smile men were discussed, just because I was expecting a regular looking humanoid figure, and the initial look of them as these lanky, tall CGI men was kind of unsettling. But then, as soon as they become more prominent players in the film, and you see them up close and consistently, and they reveal their face more, there's nothing really scary about them. They're CGI, pretty generic looking Slendermen with sharp teeth monsters that didn't scare me. And also, as I'm thinking about it more, even the jump scares that I mentioned before aren't really scary. Like, that's supposed to be just the most basic way of making you scared, and quite a few of them just didn't have much effect. So, from my perspective, that's a plus, since I don't like to be scared, but if you're going into this hoping for really intense scares and creepy moments in horror, I think you'll be disappointed. There is some decent creepy build-up at times, I'll give them that, but generally the scares are not that scary. So yeah, I talked a bit about the effects there, but generally speaking, they're really bad. The monsters are quite cartoony, but beyond that, the Maisie Williams half-human, half-dog look and effects are not great, and the green screen involved with the Anya Taylor-Joy character is horrendous. I mean, there are some effects here that are decent, but generally they range from not very good to terrible. And I guess we can talk about the giant demon bear now. This is when the movie really became incredible. Yes, the So Bad It's Good was building up for a while before then, but when the giant CGI demon bear showed up, I don't know, I was just amazed at how this movie had gone from a kind of creepy haunted house horror film to this so quickly. And I guess it also surprised me, because I was expecting something else in that moment. I thought maybe X-23 had breached the perimeter and was coming to save them, or I thought that giant demon bear thing from the beginning would be more of a metaphor rather than a literal giant demon bear. And I guess in the end it was a bit of a metaphor, and her mind created it and all that, but there is still a giant demon bear. The finale of this movie still revolves around this team of mutants fighting a giant CGI demon bear. That is ridiculous and amazing and terrible, and I love it. This all peaked in potentially my favorite line of the film, which is when Danny says to her dad, "But the bear is too big." Just cinematic gold right there. The whole finale and lead up to that finale has bad effects, bad dialogue, terrible one-liners, and cringy moments that don't make a lot of sense. It's just a glorious mixing pot of ingredients to make a very funny, enjoyable, so bad it's good climax. I'll be honest, I think the most unironically interesting part of this film is its connection to Logan, with the Essex Corporation and the fact that they used footage from Logan in the scene where she sees the facility. That made me think, oh, what if X-23 does show up, as it's been heavily rumored? That would be a pretty cool twist. Again, could be an unironically interesting part of the film. But no, she doesn't, and that footage is just about all they do with it. So it's kind of a shame when one of the best parts of your film that isn't unintentionally funny is a very brief moment showing footage from a much better movie. So in conclusion, The New Mutants starts out okay, and progressively gets more hilariously terrible, and I loved it. This movie is like X-Men meets Sky High meets It Chapter 2. I could have said Chapter 1, but Chapter 2 is basically just a worse version of Chapter 1. As a movie, I'd probably give this a 3.6 out of 10, but as an experience and in terms of enjoyment, this was like an 8 or a 9. Had a lot of fun with this. So yeah, do with that information what you will. If that sounds like it's up your alley, go see this if it's safe to go to the cinema where you live. So, those are my thoughts on The New Mutants. What did you think of this film? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. While you're at it, be sure to like this video, check out my Instagram and Twitter at BHL_Hudson, check out this podcast about movies and TV I do with a friend of mine called The Poorly Planned Podcast, and subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.